Hello everyone and welcome back to Big Ten Under 10 on the Hoosier Network. I'm Graham Nash, he's Adam Oppenheim, and we are bringing you the results from 6 different men's sports in today's show, including 2 never-before-seen sports on Big Ten Under 10. Because we've got so many results to cover, we're only going to focus on the ranked teams today in each sport, and let's get right to it, starting with men's basketball. There were 4 major upsets in the Big Ten Conference last week, but the biggest might have been unranked USC taking down 7th-ranked Michigan State in Los Angeles. The Spartans were the highest-ranked Big Ten team in the conference, but that could all change after their loss to the Trojans. Before heading west, however, the Spartans did get a win against unranked Minnesota, so they ended the week 1-1. Also in upset land, the 17th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers lost to unranked Maryland on the road, but similarly to Michigan State, Wisconsin did take down unranked Northwestern. 18th-ranked Illinois lost in overtime to Nebraska in Lincoln, but redeemed themselves with a strong win against Ohio State back at home. The final upsets of the week both came at the expense of the 16th-ranked Oregon Ducks. The Ducks lost on the road to the unranked UCLA Bruins and also lost at home to unranked Nebraska. Last but certainly not least, the 10th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers took down unranked Indiana in a classic rivalry game that was played in West Lafayette. And speaking of the Indiana-Purdue game, we've got Adam at the board breaking down some film for us from the great matchup. What you got, Adam?
Thanks, Graham. I'm back in the film room, and this is a fun game to break down. Let's start off with a couple plays that Indiana did well and then show how the game ended. First, we're going to start off with Purdue having the ball and some good defense for Indiana. As you see, Luke Goody helping out on Miles Rice, who's guarding Fletcher Loyer. And then Loyer on the drive. Goody, right here, squares him up. Great contest. Umar Ballo on the backside. Little nudge to the Purdue player, and it gets Indiana off and running in transition. And you see now Purdue has 5 players back, 3 on 5. Leo draws a couple, kicks it to Luke Goody, who nails his 3rd three-pointer of the first half. Indiana was off to a flying fast start. Here's another good defense to offense play for Indiana. Shots up. Burgess comes flying in for the rebound. Great offensive rebound. Anthony Leo, you'll watch him right here. He gambles, going for the steal. Braden Smith wide open for a layup. Nope. Mackenzie Mbako comes out of absolute nowhere, rejects the shot. And what does it do? It gets Indiana off and running in transition. 5 on 4 the other way. Galloway finds Mbako, pump fake, and then sticks the three-pointer. Really good possession for Indiana. Last plays I'm going to show you guys is how the game ended. Now, this was actually a great defensive possession for Indiana. They do a great job against Braden Smith. I think they did a good job at least trying to trap, getting 2 on him. And then Ballo, he recovers to Trey Kaufman-Uren. He makes him catch it just inside the paint. Trey Kaufman-Uren spins, 10-foot hook over a 7-footer. That is absolutely terrific, and Purdue grabs the lead. Now, I want you to look at it here, that Indiana, well, they have 2 timeouts. And what does Indiana not do? They do not call a timeout. Instead, they have Miles Rice, who had 0 points in the game, go up the court. You'll watch here. 10 seconds, 9, 8. No one else has touched the ball. Contested shot. Yes, he was fouled on the play by Jakari Harris, but this is a smothered, contested shot. There is no room. And once again, look at the timeout situation for Indiana. 2 timeouts. I mean, what is Mike Woodson doing holding on to these timeouts? It makes no sense. Trey Galloway had a great game with 15 points, 5 assists. And Mbako had one of his best games for Indiana in a long time with 25. And it ends up being a missed shot. Purdue grabs the ball. They go on to win. An overall solid game for an unranked Indiana team on the road. But once again, the only thing that matters is winning. The 10th-ranked Boilermakers hang on 81-76. Graham?
Thanks so much, Adam. Purdue has won the last 3 against Indiana, 2 of those being in West Lafayette. The rematch is going to be on February 23rd in Indiana. Now, Adam, you're back sitting with us. We're going to turn to you. One question before we move on to our other sports. Out of the 4 upsets that we saw last week, and then that 5th against, or the 2nd for Oregon, which is the most concerning in your eyes?
I think it just the Oregon Ducks team as a whole, Dana Altman's team, has not been very good the past couple games. They lost on the road to UCLA. They got swept by UCLA in the season series 2-0, and then lost at home against Nebraska. Remember, this was a team that went to double overtime with Creighton in the round of 32. Were very close to making the Sweet 16 last year. They lost Nafali Dante and Jermaine Cousinard, who were two of their highest scorers. Where do they go now? You're not really sure. Jackson Shelstad had a really rough game. I believe it was against UCLA. He scored 0 points on only 2 shot attempts, and that's the Ducks' second-leading scorer. And Kwame Evans Jr., who was a really high recruit out of Montverde Academy, you've heard of a lot of great players come from there, had just not been able to have the season that he wanted. His minutes and points are down on a worse team, which really doesn't make any sense. But the Ducks really they don't have a go-to guy, and they've struggled to shoot the three. They're now 14th in the Big Ten in three-point shooting percentage in conference play. We're 4 for 23 in the game against UCLA. And in the game against Nebraska, the Cornhuskers shot 4 for 23, but the Ducks shot 5 for 20. Also in that Nebraska game, the two leading scorers for the Cornhuskers, Jawan Gary and Bryce Williams, they both scored 20-plus points. Your game plan was to let the others beat you for the Cornhuskers, and they let the two guys that Nebraska has go off. So right now, Oregon needs to find their go-to guy, and they just got to start playing better. It's been a real struggle the past couple games. It's been a rough watch, I'll add.
Well, they don't have a ton of time as we are creeping towards March. It's kind of approaching quickly, but still times for the Ducks to reassess. We are now going to turn to the ice and get you some scores from Big Ten in hockey. Second-ranked Michigan State split a 2-game series with the 11th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Unranked Penn State did the same with 12th-ranked Michigan taking a huge win against the Wolverines. Lastly, 4th-ranked Minnesota swept 18th-ranked Wisconsin at home. Now we're going to keep things here for some wrestling, which is in awe of the top-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions at the moment. In a battle of the Titans, Penn State demolished the second-best team in the country, Iowa, 30-8. The Hawkeyes, they did, however, bounce back, taking down the 25th-ranked Maryland Terrapins 34-9. 7th-ranked Nebraska demolished unranked Wisconsin 35-7. 4th-ranked Ohio State beat 19th-ranked Michigan at 25-14 in another classic rivalry matchup. Unranked Purdue lost big time to 14th-ranked Illinois 35-8. The 23rd-ranked Indiana Hoosiers beat Northwestern 25-13 at home. And lastly, 8th-ranked Minnesota took down 12th-ranked Rutgers 28-9 at home as well. Moving to the pool, before introducing you to our 2 new sports, let's talk swim and dive. Second-ranked Indiana beat 11th-ranked Louisville 189.5 to 110.5. 24th-ranked Northwestern lost to Minnesota twice, 142-62 and 232.5 to 120.5. They did, however, take down unranked Purdue twice, 105-100 and 192-161. 14th-ranked Ohio State beat unranked Pitt 181-114. And lastly, number 10 Michigan took down Miami of Ohio 171-111. Our first brand new sport is men's tennis, which just began their indoor action. 16th-ranked Michigan State just lost to the 19th-ranked Tennessee 4-3. 21st-ranked NC State upset 17th-ranked Michigan 4-2 in Ann Arbor, but the Wolverines bounced back with a big win over 24th-ranked Harvard. 3rd-ranked OSU got a huge 5-2 victory over number 5 Virginia, but the Buckeyes lost just a couple days later to 4th-ranked Wake Forest 4-3 on the road. 25th-ranked UCLA lost to unranked Cal Berkeley 4-2. 16th-ranked MSU fell to unranked Clemson, and lastly, 25th-ranked UCLA got swept at home by number 13 Stanford 4-0. Our final sport for today's episode is men's golf, which also just began their spring action. In the only tournament of the week, 18th-ranked USC and 13th-ranked UCLA played in Pepperdine's Southwestern Invitational at Sherwood Country Club. The Trojans, they finished 3rd at 1 under, and the Bruins, they finished 11th at 13 over. Surprisingly, unranked San Diego State won the event at 8 under par. And that is going to wrap up today's show. Huge thanks to our producer, Colin Dusick, and teleprompter, Henry Thuss, for making all of this possible. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at B1G_under10, and check back in later this week for our next episode of Big Ten Under 10.